Hi, welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph D. Meachus, one of the astrologers. In this segment, we're going to talk about Rene Zellweger, the actress. Born on April 25th, 1969, a Friday, Venus's Day, at 2:41 p.m. in Baytown, Texas. It's a very interesting chart because it's a little bit surprising. You know, here you have this actress who seems like a slip of a girl and very mercurial. And yet her sun is at 5 degrees Taurus. Now, admittedly, it's in the 9th house, so it's highly elevated in the chart. But she has Virgo rising, which is actually a very good position for an actress. Having strong Virgo someplace for a movie actress especially is good because, or an actor, because they take direction well. You know, you tell them to do something, they'll work on doing it precisely. They're mutable. Then she has her moon. And here you see the ham. Here you see the actress in Leo, in the 12th house, the house of make-believe. So suddenly you have the sun, if you look at it in that way, you have the sun in the sign of the artist, Taurus, highly elevated, a person who loves to travel. It also has Mercury, she has Mercury in Taurus, so, you know, speaking beautifully. The moon in the house of make-believe in the sign of dramatics. And Virgo rising, interestingly, that Virgo rising is very powerful. Why? She also has Jupiter in Virgo near the rising, as well as Pluto, and the nodal axis. Now, it's interesting how many times we find with actors and actresses, they have the nodal axis close to the rising in the setting. What's that mean? It means they have a very strong connection to their matrilineal line, among other things. But it also means that their personal experience has a lot of reincarnational echoes. You know, they get a lot of stuff from the reincarnational experiences. That's tremendously helpful for an actor or an actress when you're having to pull up parts of your deeper self in order to become another role. You know, you see, I have a tremendous respect for actors because it's a lot of work to be able to be that flexible and be able to pull deep within your personality to create something that you are not day to day. You know, it's really quite remarkable. It's like many things. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. How do you get onto the stage? You spend a lot of time in the studio preparing. So that Jupiter rising in Virgo with the Pluto, especially, they're very closely together, means that people see her optimism and yet they sense there's a hidden power. Pluto. When Pluto's near a planet, it tends to supercharge it. It's in Virgo, the sign of the girl. And she comes across very much as feminine, very much as a girl. It goes back to the Mercury, because it's Virgo. Virgo was ruled by Mercury. In Taurus, a very feminine sign, very highly placed in the chart, up in the 9th house. Taurus in the sign of Venus. Interestingly, the Venus is in Aries, a martial sign. Where's her Mars? In the 4th house, a very feminine house, conjunct the part of fortune in Sagittarius. So she has this mix of energies. It's a little androgynous. You know, is she a girl? Is she a boy? You know, she's someone, because of how she's built, who could be disguised as a boy very easily. And I'm sure there's been roles where she has been disguised as a man or a boy, because she has that kind of dynamic energy. The Venus in Aries is actually called the detriment position. It has a lot to do with really watching out for yourself. It's about, rather, when you're in social situations, stepping up. Instead of saying, what do you think? They say, hey, this is what I think. Which is actually very helpful. And it's in the martial house. It's in the house of Scorpio, the 8th house. So she brings a lot of energy. She really is willing to step up in her performance, but also in life. She also has Saturn in Aries, which is also an introvert position. So there may be issues for her when it comes to being overly aggressive when it comes to sharing power with people. And she has Chiron there as well, and Astrea there, so she's been wounded in that relationship. In relationships, she's been wounded, and she's probably been in legal trouble. So I bet if we dug back into her life, we'd find a number of legal cases where she had worked in partnership with people that then had to be sorted out through attorneys, okay, because of her being maybe a little too impetuous, a little too aggressive, okay. She has Vesta conjunct the midheaven in the 10th house. This is someone who wants a claim, and she wanted to claim young. And her claim came from her youthfulness. Vesta is the feminine archetype. And so she comes across as the archetype of the young feminine person. But, Gemini is a little androgynous, so that's why I say she comes across as a bit of a tomboy. A girl who's kind of a bit of a tomboy. But with that Virgo rising, it's no doubt that she's a girl, but it's a bit of a tomboy. It's that place where they haven't given up their power, their warrior goddess, their sense of Diana, the warrior goddess, the huntress, for children and home life and family and all the places in which that power is then shared with others or used in different ways. What's funny is that she has Pallas Athena, Diana, in the 5th house, so that comes through her creativity. She has Juno conjunct the Pallas in Capricorn. Well, it's in Capricorn. This is a sign which is all about being responsible, being structured. It's not a gushy position. So she sees, even in those situations where she has to fulfill the role of wife, she still brings that sense of independence. And this is throughout her chart. She has this, artistry with independence. There's never a time in which you feel like someone owns her, even though the sun, Mercury, Saturn, Venus, the Mars, they're all over in the Western Hemisphere. So it is about being a partner for her. Like, in other words, in being cast, she would not be cast as the leading person. She'd be cast as the leading lady. They'd pick the leading man first and then cast her with that, because she's seen as that partner. She's seen as that girl, that young person. It's interesting that, where do we position ourselves? What is more important to us? Because it is, after all, Taurus. It's a Venus-ruled sign. Even when Venus is in Aries, she's still Venus. She still wants that sense of partnership. She still wants to share that. With Pisces in the 7th house and Jupiter at the rising in Virgo, she very much wants to believe in her partnerships. And she is willing to suffer for them. And she usually will suffer for them, which partnerships sometimes require some suffering. It's about partnerships. You have to be there for the good and the bad. What's interesting is that moon in the 12th house. The whole thing's interesting, but that moon in the 12th house in Leo, it means that when you put her in a protected environment, on the protection of the studio, she's the kind of person who works best with a director that protects and keeps their actors safe, because you let her be there in a protected environment and all of her creativity, all of her drama emerges for everyone to see. So it's a very interesting chart. So different from your typical Taurian chart. But that's Rene Zellweger. So hope you found that interesting. Very interesting actress, very talented. Make sure you can come back again on Tuesdays for our astro portraits, and of course for our forecasts for the coming week on Fridays. You'll find those both at Planetary Calendar Astrology on YouTube, and also you can find them at planetarycalendar.com, where you can also find our calendars and books on astrology, feng shui, and health. So until next time, be well.